Welcome to the Intercom podcast. We're once again joined by our Director of Machine Learning, Fergal, and we're going to talk about all things ChatGPT. Hello once again, Fergal. How are you?
Good, yeah. Thanks, Des. Busy. Been a busy last sort of 6 or 7 weeks here at Intercom. So very excited to talk about that today.
Yeah, just 6 or 7 weeks ago we sat down to chat, and since then we've obviously had Christmas, which I'm sure kept you busy. But more importantly, you've been hard at work. You've had, I guess, 6-7 weeks of like actual engineering time building against the AI revolution that kind of launched late November. What have you learned? What is like new to you? What has it changed your perception of what's going to be possible in the world of customer service?
Yeah, I think it has. So when we talked last, we talked a lot about like ChatGPT, and that was maybe a week after it was launched. And you can split hairs about whether the big difference here is like ChatGPT or is the family of models OpenAI have built. We've been working mostly with GPT 3.5 or with like text DaVinci 3 to be like really specific.
They're named at a specific module.
Yeah, they're named at a specific models. And like actually there's a lot of confusion over these names and like what the different things are. But basically, we really feel that like the GPT 3.5 series of models, DaVinci 2, DaVinci 3, this sort of thing, which have come out in the last year, and then like DaVinci 3, which really like dropped at the exact same time as ChatGPT, really were breakthroughs and really have enabled us to start trying to build like different qualitatively better functionality.
So what is your belief about what's possible now? Like where are we headed with the world of customer service?
So, I think in customer service and even beyond customer service, these models enable us to deal with natural language in a better way than we could before. Mm-hmm. So, I guess you could give a little history of natural language processing. There was like, simple things. There's your regular expressions and so on for a long time. Maybe like then we had like, text that kind of like got really good at looking at keywords that were in data a lot. And then maybe like 3-4 years ago, neural networks started to get really good at like understanding, hey, what's like the meaning of this sentence? Mm-hmm. But now I would say they're starting to get really good at like, hey, what's the meaning of that sentence in kind of a more deeper, heading much closer towards how humans can do it. And also like understanding, what's going on in a conversation of like multiple sentences, like what's the person talking about, stitching together, the kind of the contents of sentence 1 with the contents of sentence 3 to like figure out that someone just said like, oh, hey, I have a question about Salesforce. And then the teammate says, oh, like, what's your question? How can I help you? And then it says, yeah, I really need help with my integration. And the systems are getting much better at understanding, okay, that integration, that's about the Salesforce integration, and kind of like got some idea of where the conversation should go next. And, we our resolution bot and the machine learning tech that's already deployed, it's pretty good at that stuff within a given sentence. But like now it's like the tech is getting better to the point where it's good across like multiple sentences. It's just much better at like context and that sort of thing. And so that just as humans who communicate and who want to talk to each other in natural language, it's just so natural to us. That's a big unlock because there's so many tasks that we want to do that are best described in natural language. There's so many like documents and instructions and articles about how to do something that we sort of we write and we communicate with each other in natural language. And now suddenly machines are able to kind of like look at those and make much more sense of them. And each time that capability gets better, a whole lot of products unlock, a whole lot of stuff that wasn't possible before becomes possible now. And we really feel that's happened. And we really feel what's happened is a big thing. And that's just all our opinion until we build stuff and put it in front of our customers and see what our customers think of it. And so
that's what we want. I mean,
that's what we've been trying to do.
Yeah. What is software but like codified opinions, right?
Right.
So like, what have we built? What have you been working on? Let's talk through it.
Right. So, Like product development, you always want to check your opinion. Like your customers and your customers, users or whatever, are always the ultimate arbiter of whether something is good or not. You might think you've got the most amazing technology, the most amazing product experience, but if it doesn't solve a problem and if it isn't used, you're wrong. And so, we really wanted to to cut through the hype here and really convince ourselves, okay, what can we build for customers quickly? What can we get in front of them? What can we get into sort of a limited beta to really see and to work with our customers to kind of really see, okay, what delivers value? And so we went and we sketched out features that we could build and get into production quickly that would use some of this new tech, and that would really help us to kind of figure out, okay, is this valuable or is this a toy? And so the first thing we decided to do was to build a feature that essentially did summarization.
Right.
And there's a reason why we decided to do this, which is that my team, the machine learning team here at Intercom, the inbox team really discovered that there was a common customer job, two in fact customer jobs, that we're just seeing a lot. A support rep, before they hand the conversation over, in a lot of businesses, they have to write a summary of that conversation. Right. Or if they don't do that, maybe the end user has to repeat themselves, or the receiving rep has to go and scroll up and read a lot of stuff. And so the support rep handing over has to write a summary. And that's a real job. And so about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, my team tried to look at the best neural networks at that time, T5 and all these big networks. And okay, can we use this to build an adequate summarization feature? And unfortunately, we concluded just no way. Conversations just are too gnarly. They kind of the flow of a conversation treads around between these different parts in a way that was really good for a human. Humans can easily look it up and it's fast and they can scan it. But even kind of the pretty big neural networks that we have in Resolution Bot really struggled on that sort of task. And one of the first things we saw when we were playing with the recent DaVinci 3 model, GPT 3.5, is suddenly it seems to be great at summarization. And we were like, wow, that looks amazing. And so we built a feature and did a couple of rounds of iteration with a summarization feature. Sometimes a gist of it, just getting that first, kind of helps you find the exact detail you want. Yeah. And I as a user of Intercom found this as a problem. And so, I think it's, I do think we've hit something really good there. That's one of the features that we've worked on. Not everything we've built and we've put in beta is game changing, but summarization is one of the ones that we feel strongest about. It's really ready. This tech does something that's transformative, it's new, it's exciting, and it delivers real customer value. Customers have told us that, and so excited about that. And
I think one thing that we've always tried to be as relates to AI, ML, and now obviously GPT and Claude from Anthropic and all those is sober, because we're trying to do our customers a favor. It's easy to come out with the hype machine. It's easy to come out with press releases. We've changed the world.
Yeah.
In practice, the only person who gets to decide that is our customers. And so when we release summarization, we're taking their word for it that it's really valuable. And that's the thing that matters, right?
Exactly. And look, this is something we agonize over. I think we talked about this on a previous podcast. Sometimes you lose out to folks who are willing to just hype up vaporware or something like that. We try very hard not to do that, because once you start doing that, you end up believing your own hype,
the narrative gets ahead of the software. That's a real risk.
You try to avoid that, and we've been really conscious about that with this type of tech, which is that it almost works a lot, and it comes really close to doing something magical and transformative, but sometimes fails. And so we're really trying to keep ourselves honest here about okay, is this really good enough yet? We know it's not perfect, but is it good enough yet? And what's it good enough for? And summarization is something we feel good about. And sometimes you still need to edit it. Sometimes it'll miss a detail. But if you're going to write a summary anyway, it's really, really great at when, here's a bunch of text, please just abstract that and extract the core information. And so So yeah, so that's a feature that we feel really delivers real value. And you can lose by pitching vaporware, pitching something that looks good but doesn't actually work in production. And you can also lose by being too conservative. Sometimes in the past with Resolution Bot, we've had times where we were too conservative and we were like, oh, we really don't want this to fire unless we're pretty sure it's got the answer. And then some customers have come to us and told us, oh, the user's not getting any help for a while. Give them something, even if you're wrong. And we A/B test and we tune those thresholds and so on. There have been times we've been too conservative, and so we're taking an approach here of rapidly getting new features out to beta to our customers. Our customers are extremely excited about this tech. Everyone can sort of see the promise, but our goal is to just get stuff out fast. And really let beta and usage be the arbiter of that.
How many features are in the beta? 5, 6?
Yeah, it depends how you want to count them. Something like 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else is there?
So the first thing we did was summarization. We did that because it was just straightforward, easy to integrate, well understood job. After that, we went to look at the composer, and we have done my team had already been working on AI, and we've been studying generative AI in a lot of detail in the composer. Can we make teammates faster here? And so because we know that we've got telemetry and metrics, we know that about half of the time that an agent spends in Intercom, they spend in the composer. They're writing text, they're editing it, they're organizing their thoughts too, but they're spending a lot of time writing and reshaping text. And when we looked at that, we were like, okay, this is very good at editing text and changing text. Can we start off with some small features there, some MVP features there to get them live and see how that goes? And so there's several sort of text editing and text reshaping features we started off with. Maybe the simplest ones to explain are, simple editing thing to say, hey, make this text that I've just written, make it more friendly, make it more formal, because this tech is now good at adjusting tone, whereas previously there wasn't really anything you could reliably adjust tone. And we did a lot of iteration on the UX, and we come up with UX where there's a toolbar. You can just select text. Our first version, you couldn't select the text, and we iterated. Customers told us it was kind of useless. They didn't want to change the tone of everything in the composer. So now you can select a little bit, and it's almost like editing an image. And we sort of think there's an emerging paradigm here. I remember once upon a time, a word processor where you could bold text and italicize text was wow, and it did it in place, it was cool. And we kind of wonder if in future, people are going to think about that in terms of tone. It's of course I want to go and just quickly edit the tone. And we get really good at editing text, but it's still work.
Yes.
And if you're tired at the end of the day, you're you've written a draft, you're looking, I kind of I'm being a bit too, wasn't friendly enough. It's going to affect my CSAT. And you just go and click a button and edit the tone, and it gets more friendly. And it's easier to press that button once or twice than it is to go and
rewrite it.
Rewriting text is work. Sometimes we get good at it, we don't see it.
An interesting thing you said there, the idea of the context menu of text has been bold, italic, underline, and then of late maybe indent, extent, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It strikes me that we might be looking at a different world where the new context menu is expand upon or summarize, make happier, make more formal. That'll be the actual transformations you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's not so much you're focused on the optics of the text so much as you are the tone.
Totally. And look, we go back and forth in this. We're is this a toy? Have we built a cool toy, or is it something that's amazing? And I think this is it's going to vary by customers. But the bull case for that particular feature is hey, I'm tired at the end of a day, and I care a lot about tone because my CSAT, is a big metric for me. And this is a way of doing it. It's a way of just giving a little bit more delightful of a customer experience. And I'm still writing and I'm still editing it.
So just for our viewers, listeners, what would this turn you'd say sorry, here's your refund, and then you'd say please make that sound more empathetic and whatever.
Yeah, no, we've experimented with empathetic. What we've actually shipped is kind of make things more formal, make things more friendly, and so it's
formal to friendly, I guess.
Yeah, that's the kind of spectrum that seems to work really well. So we've gone with that, and I guess it suits Intercom. A lot of people are trying to give a very personal, very friendly support experience. So look, that's one thing. We're look, to be completely transparent, we're still not sure exactly where this sits in the spectrum of toy to valuable. Some customers say it's very valuable, and so we're continuing to evaluate that. But we have that in beta. And we want to tell our customers these are the sort of things we're building, these are the sort of things we're investigating. And we think that possibly, that it might be possible to undervalue features like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's one feature. That's kind of like tone adjustment. The next thing, we're going to talk about more and more powerful features probably as this goes on. The next thing we've sort of been looking at is a rephrase feature. And again, these language models, like they're very good at like, take this constrained piece of text and like edit it or change it. You can sort of see that with like summarization, and we're going to talk about like text generation in just a minute. But they're very good at sort of like rephrasing and changing things. And so, you know, a lot of the time, maybe you write something down, it comes out wrong. So you can just say like, hey, rephrase that. Like, and again, it's that sort of like fast UX where it's like, just highlight it, just click it. And maybe you're tired, it's just a little bit easier than like rewriting it yourself. You know, there's a little bit of latency when you do that. So we're still evaluating, but some customers, again, really like it. It really works for them in their business. And we expect that latency will go down over time as these models, you know, get better and better. So that's text rephrasing. Those are sort of the kind of the first features that we've gone after in the composer. Now the bigger ticket stuff comes next, and we're starting to investigate sort of the things that are potentially more game changing. And one thing we're trying to do that is what we call the expand feature. And the expand feature we've had in beta is, you know, we were inspired by things like Copilot for programmers. So we use Copilot here. And you know, in Copilot, maybe you can write a comment and then it like fills out the full function and it just saves you a bunch of time. And we were like, oh, can we build something that's a little bit like that for customer support? So, you know, the idea is that you write like a short, like few word summary of what you want, and then highlight that, say expand, and your composer fills out. Now, you know, we've done this, we've shipped it, and you know, customers clearly see that this is valuable and not a toy if it works, but it works much better in some domains than others. If you're answering questions that, you know, generic information from the internet would do a good job.
Like how to reset your phone or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Then it works very well for that. However, if you're trying to like, you know, do something where, you know, you're writing a shorthand and actually there's a lot of context specific to your business about how you answer this type of question, then it will hallucinate sometimes and it will say something you need to edit out. And, you know, still some customers really like it. It works really well for them. But we really think that that's sort of like a version 1. If you're using this is sort of like, you're being an early adopter, you need to check, you need to see how well it works for you and your business. However, we have a project that's constantly evaluating new things for that, where it's like, hey, can we take the previous replies that you've given on the same topic? So you give us like 3 words summary of what you want to do, like refund, customer, thanks. And we'll go and we'll find like the last 5 things you said about refund. We'll also go and we'll see if maybe you've got a macro about refund. We'll also look at the context in the conversation beforehand.
If there's anything in the help center, all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
we haven't gone quite as far as like pulling in articles and stuff from the help center there. We just sort of looked at like, what did the user say? What did you say 2 turns ago? And we'll put them all into a prompt that will then go and say, okay, now with all of this information model, please go and take that like 3-word shorthand and like, you know, anti-summarize it, like turn it into like a big thing.
So it'll take like, sorry, here's a refund, thanks, into like, we really apologize for the inconvenience. We've issued a refund, you should see it in 3 to 4 days.
Yes.
And we regret for this, I hope to see you again.
In the style that you usually use, you personally, the individual agent, and, you know, taking in any relevant macros that you have as well. So that's really where we're at. And that last piece, that's not in production yet. The V1's in production. The V1 has been used by those hundreds of beta customers. But really where we're experimenting with is, can we get over the hump? Can we start to make something like that's really transformative there by getting that context in? And you know, that's still ongoing. I would say we're optimistic, but not certain yet. And and so very excited, super, you know, fast moving. This is changing like week by week for us. So we're very excited about that. And that's the expand feature. Again, version 1 at the moment, but we can see like the version 2, version 3 coming down the line. So the last feature that we've sort of experimented with in our beta is just giving our customers direct access to GPT. So like no prompt, not telling the model anything, but just saying, hey, put whatever you want in there.
Yeah.
And we really did that as sort of like a fast-moving beta experiment. We didn't give our customers in beta much guidance about how to use that, and then we confused some of them and it didn't go so well. But some customers found sort of like novel use cases, including like translation, where like it was delivering real value to them. Now, these models are not the best at translation, but maybe that's an interesting sort of AI product development tactic there, which is like, hey, if you've got like beta customers, maybe give them a little bit more power than you might expect, and like they'll tell you what they need.
See what's emergent.
See what's emerging.
See what's expected even.
Exactly. And expectations, I think, are going to change fast in this. And so, so that's, maybe that tells us that like we need a translation there, because there's very well understood translation models out there.
So it seems like all these features, you're saying are live with 160 or so people, they're all like efficiency maximizers for support teams. Like they reduce a lot of like the undifferentiated, whether it's like the boilerplate intros and outros, or whether it's like the like just rewriting something that you might not have the energy to do to make it like happier or more formal or whatever. Like they're all different ways to like save support, like frontline support agents a lot of time. Ultimately giving them more time to focus on the harder bits of the conversation, which are like the technical lookups or the deep dives or whatever. Do you think like is that where this will be best deployed? Is that just our best thinking so far? When you think about where else can we roll this sort of GPT style technology across the support experience, what else are you thinking about?
So obviously there's a lot of support reps. Our larger customers have a lot of support reps who just spend day in, day out in the composer. And so if we can make them faster and more efficient, 10% efficiency gain, 20% efficiency
of course,
gain, it's absolutely huge.
We have customers with like thousands of seats, so like it's genuinely transformational.
Game changing. And so that's an area that we've been very attracted to, and also like this tech is just getting better and better. It's not the only place, but we're really bullish about that. We sort of think that and again, some of our customers very nicely like will share videos with us of their actual day to day, and like you can just see like there often is this workflow where it's like, hey, I'm trying to answer a question and like I don't know the answer. I need to go look up an internal help desk article or find a similar conversation, and I'm navigating around. And if we can like short circuit that to the point where it's like, hey, here's the AI. It's maybe you give it like a few words, or maybe we get beyond that. We have like other prototypes I'll talk about in a few minutes, where like maybe we can get beyond that, where the answer is just there waiting for you. Maybe it's got a source beside it, and suddenly that sort of like 5 minutes going hunting for the answer turns into instantaneous, and like that's where this starts to get really game changing. I think that's where we're going pretty soon.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think like small gains on large teams are still massive, and then obviously like large gains in any particular workflow, like the summarization thing is also massive as well. So I think it's easy to look at these things as like, I think some people have this weird binary world where like until we've automated all of support, we haven't done anything. My personal take is I don't think we'll ever actually automate all of support. What I think we will do is like literally gut the undifferentiated part of support. The pointy, clicky, like intro-y, outro-y stuff where you're doing the same thing every day.
And hopefully you'll get rid of the frustrating parts. You're navigating around, you're trying to search, and you're like, the answer's in here somewhere. You've answered this question 5 times last month, and you can't find it. And so we have one other feature that was live in beta I should tell you about before we kind of start talking about exactly like what the trajectory is here over the next while. So the last feature that we've had in beta has been an articles based expander, and this is something that we're seeing. A lot of the time, this is almost becoming a standard feature. I think very rapidly. Anywhere you're writing like a text article, it's going to become standard that you want the ability to like call out to like a large language model and say, hey, help me complete this, expand this. Here are my bullet points. And so we've shipped that in our beta for the Intercom articles product. And again, still early. All of this stuff is early. Everyone's feature set here is early. It's been 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But sometimes it's magical. Sometimes you can go and you can just write like 4 or 5 bullet points to describe the contents of an article, and then in the prompt we give it the standard format of like an Intercom article, so it knows how to go and like put those in the kind of the headings and so on. And it's magical when it works, and how often it works and how well it works for people without, you still need to check the content. It can put stuff in there, but we think there's ways to like get that down, and we think these features are crossing the threshold of like usefulness much faster than honestly I would have anticipated.
Yeah.
And so we're experimenting with that. We've got that out as well.
So then maybe further afield then, what's your take on the trajectory of all this? Like where to from here?
Right. So those are the things that we've had in beta and that we've had like hundreds of customers using, and we've got like real signal on customer value. I'll literally tell you about like exactly where we are now in production with machine learning.
As of the 27th of January or whatever.
Right. So just in the last day or two, we have a feature that our own internal CS team is using, which is, in the past we have a smart replies feature where, it will mine your common greetings. And, these are the things that they don't have information. They're not answering the user's question, but they're just sort of like, oiling the wheels, like making it like fast and snappy and easy to say like, oh, thanks, you're welcome. Is there anything else I can do? And this tech is wonderful for that sort of thing. Linguists call them phatic expressions. And so it's wonderful for that sort of like that phatic non-information carrying expression. So just in the last few days, we've shipped a version of that to our Intercom CS team where they just see like this grayed out text pre-filled in the composer, but like relevant to the specific conversation. So, if they previously said, hi, can I help you? And the user said, oh yes, I want help with the articles product. It would then suggest like, oh yes, let me look up the articles product for you. Right. It won't look it up for you yet, but it will do that. And we think, we're like, 3-4 days ago, we were like, okay, we're going to ship this internally. We're not sure if it's going to get annoying. People will get blind to it because, they see it often and it's only helping for a subset. And we're always really cautious about that. But so far, the internal response from our CS team has been great. And so we intend to keep working on that. Maybe we need to like put another system that like limits how often it shows. So that's one thing we're working on. And then I mentioned earlier the sort of the expand piece. We're working on, hey, can we do that even without the kind of the shorthand? Can we just figure out, okay, this is what we think you're about to type next. Based on what the users just said. And like we'll go and we'll look in your knowledge base. We'll try to find relevant context. Then we'll give that to the model. The model itself isn't good enough to do this. It doesn't know your business. But maybe we can like augment it. Use a combination of more traditional machine learning techs with the model and get something that's good enough. And we have prototypes. We're working on this. We haven't shipped them to our customers yet, even in any beta form, because we're still evaluating whether, that's good enough to be transformative or whether it gets boring and annoying. And, where that threshold is not clear. And so, we're a little bit more bullish about the expand style thing where you have to prompt it, because then the user can learn when to do that. They can learn how to query it. We all had to learn how to use Google, and we expect users will get much better at dealing with these systems too. So that's roughly where we are. We're moving fast and we're shipping things quickly to customers to really check and get real value here. We're trying to be careful to avoid falling into like the hype trap. We believe in these things and we believe there's huge potential here, but it's too easy to just stick a landing page up and say, get it here, it'll answer everything. And that's not good. People will just go blind and they'll churn off it.
I think you just damage your customer reputation, your reputation with your customers if you say like this thing does something and it just clearly doesn't, but you did it for clicks or whatever.
Right.
It feels like the real product everyone's waiting for in this space is like the end user facing bot that answers most questions correctly all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
So
weeks, months, days?
So obviously, that's a huge area for everyone. It's a huge area for us. I wouldn't underestimate the composer too, because some portion of questions will always flow over to the composer. They require, a refund, and someone will exploit the machine learning system, and you need human judgment on that. And we want to make, if we can reduce that time for those, that's huge. But yeah, absolutely. One of the huge sort of prizes in this area is, can we take the conversational understanding experience that a lot of us have seen with like ChatGPT, and can we make it work for like your individual business, but avoid hallucinations? And there's a lot of people investigating that. We're investigating that too. We have prototypes that are, interesting and promising, but we don't yet know for certain whether we've crossed that threshold yet of like, hallucinations are rare enough that this is worth doing and is valuable. We're starting to see some opinions crystallize on that internally, but we're not really just ready to share where we're at with that quite yet.
Totally fair. Well, I guess we'll check in again in 6 more weeks or so.
It's been very fast moving time, and like, look, this is a very exciting field to work in. Customer expectations are very high. Everyone has seen this, and everyone's like, that ChatGPT is really good. If I could get tech like that to help my customer support, that's huge. ChatGPT isn't going to do it off the shelf. It doesn't know your business. You can't really fine tune it today. Even if you could fine tune it on your specific business, it probably wouldn't do it. So we need to find clever techniques, and I think companies like Intercom are well positioned to try and do that. A lot of interesting tech out there, a lot of interesting large language models. GPT, you mentioned Anthropic earlier, and really excited to see all the innovation in this space. And hopefully sometime soon we'll
have more to say. Yeah. Cool. Thanks very much.
Thank you.